Janet Jackson has been taking some heat in the news because of her wild beliefs. Now, this is what happens when people make a claim or ask questions that go against narratives. And this is what's happening to Janet Jackson. She is being dragged, and of course, this is a couple weeks ago, and so the news cycle has sort of calmed down over it. But it has sort of sparked this really interesting debate online. And Candice Owens, who is people call her far right conspiracy theorist, Candice Owens. She is a conservative, political commentary. Or wow, watch me go, friends, watch me go. Anyways, she started deep diving into Janet Jackson, or no, I'm sorry, Kamala, say it right? She started diving into Kamala Harris's background because in the debate, Trump's, or maybe it was I can't remember. It was in an interview where Trump said that he didn't know that Kamala was black. Janet sort of repeated that in an interview for the Guardian, and yeah, so chaos ensued after that. So we're going to get into this article, and they only highlight a very specific part about this, and that's just the Kamala. The actual interview is pretty good, and she talks a lot more about not just political stuff, but she is, you could tell she's plugged in, and you could tell she's not really feeling the status quo, which I wouldn't either when you know that your brother was, probably in part taken down by somebody connected to the feds, right? So she's probably not a big fan of the federal government, which who is? And should we be trusting our federal government? Never. It's actually our duty not to trust our federal government. It's our duty to dictate what our federal government does, right? And if we're allowing them to lie to us and accept it, well, it is our fault. But it is our duty to call that shit out, right? Like, it is our duty to be like, hey, you guys are lying. Why are you lying? You want to lead our country, but you want to lie about some stuff. So it's very interesting. So we're going to kind of go through like a little arc here of what's going on. And I have to say that Candice Owens, I'm really enjoying Candice as Candice on her own. Outside of the Daily Wire, she has been going real deep on some stuff. And if you're into conspiracy theories, and the thing about Candice is that she does speak a little bit about conspiracy theories, but she quite often has receipts to back it up. Now, she will just say things, right? And then you kind of got to like, what is she saying? Like any other commentator, she has her own ideas and opinions that I'm just like, well, I don't agree with that. And that's fine, right? We don't have to agree with each other. But I do like that Candice Owens says, once you start going after the Jacksons, I'm going to have to take control here. Because it was literally because people started attacking Janet Jackson. And not just people, the whole news media actually has started to was attacking her. So let's kind of read through this article. We'll watch a couple videos, and we'll get into this more this longer art. And later in the show, there are some new explosive allegations against Vice President nominee Tim Walz, who apparently was involved with some misconduct with underage kids, allegedly. Now we're going to get into that. We're going to check it all out. But, just so you guys know where this is going. And again, I always got to say this because no matter what, anytime that I criticize the left, I am just put in to the right. So I just want to say, it's like I'm not any political affiliation. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Kamala. That's for sure. I'm probably just not going to vote for a president because I'm not choosing between these assholes. So let's get into this. Janet Jackson believes U.S. elections will end in mayhem falsely claims Kamala Harris is not black. I was told they discovered her father was white, which her father is not white. He's actually Indian, and allegedly he's African American too, or Jamaican American. I'm sorry, Jamaican, not African American or Jamaican American, like Jamaican from Jamaica. Which Candice Owens is kind of going through and blowing all that up, but we'll get there. So, Janet Jackson, she has to be a very isolated human being, right? Like, I'm sure she's not getting, she's not hanging out with the plebes, right? She's just doing her own little research in her little bubble, and, that can be trouble sometimes, right? But I will say that Candice Owens has some compelling evidence, and I'm not saying that she's proved anything, but she is sort of going through and blowing some stuff up. And of course, that word gets around. That her father, I believe, is Donald J. Harris, is, he is. He has such a shady past, right? There's so many weird things about his past that doesn't add up. And he talks about, in articles, he talks about his grandma Beryl. And there's just a lot of shadiness around the origins of Donald J. Harris. So there's a lot going on. And we're not going to go all through the things that Candice Owens is going through, because she has like about 2 or 3 weeks of content and evidence that she's been compiling. I mean, this is like a series that she's doing, and it's pretty exciting. So let's get into this. Janet Jackson warned voters of the potential chaos surrounding the upcoming November election in a recent okay. Sorry. I do apologize. I am fighting a cold, so give me a pass on this one. But Janet Jackson warned voters of the potential chaos surrounding the upcoming November election in a recent interview with The Guardian. The Grammy-winning singer also repeated false claims, and already they're discounting what she's saying, false claims about Vice President Kamala Harris's racial identity. So Janet is quoted as saying, quote, "Well, you know what they supposedly said," Jackson told the news outlet. "She's not black. That's what I heard. That she's Indian." And here's the thing. Kamala Harris has ran under, as an Indian American, like was the first Indian American senator, right? Was it senator? Yeah, senator of California, and the district attorney. And she has all these first, and it's always surrounding her ethnicity. Now, I do want to say also that she looks black to me. I'm not saying any of this, okay? I don't know. All I know is that there is some research going on, and it looks pretty fucking shady. To tell you the truth, it looks shady. So, she looks black to me. Just looking at her, I'm just like, oh yeah, she looks like she could have some black in her. She also can look like she's Indian. I mean, there's some Indians that look black. Let's pull up. Indians that look African American. Let's just put that. Indians that look African American. Why do Indians look like mixed Africans? Yeah, so like, what is it? Indians. Not Indians. Fucking what? No, Indians from India. Put that stipulation in there. See, look at this. Some Indians totally look like they're black. So it is something that can happen, right? And now, see, this is weird because it's sort of mixing like native indigenous people now, because there was a mixture of indigenous and African slaves in America, which is really cool, honestly. Like this is them. Their outfits are so beautiful. Like America's Black Indians, a hidden heritage. Yeah, I mean, that's so cool. Look at that. And of course, black people have to take something and then make it just big and bold and in your face. And it's really cool. Anyways, but that's a totally different subject. So there are Indians that can look black, and that was what we were trying to put. Sup, Ty? Oh, hey, Ty. You might like this. Janet Jackson said Kamala Harris isn't black. And again, I do want to say that Kamala Harris looks black to me. Okay, she looks black to me. Who am I to say she's not black? I don't look Mexican. I get it. Appearances can be deceiving, but also there are Indians from India that have African traits, right? So that's something. Okay, so that's something. Anyways, Janet Jackson eating shit in the media. When informed that Harris is both black and Indian, Jackson pushed back, asserting that the presidential nominee's father is neither. And she says, quote, from Janet's mouth, her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days, she said. I was told that they discovered her father was white, which is true. I believe he's Indian and Irish slaveholders. He's also a part of Not Black Enough for Janet. She said not black enough. Which is funny only because MJ bleached his skin so white. I don't know how that's funny in my head. Which is such a shame. It's such a shame that he felt he had to do that. Man, I feel so bad about my opinion on Michael Jackson because my whole life I was just like, I love Michael Jackson, but he's a straight up pedo. But like when you look at the evidence again, it's the FBI had nothing on him. He had nothing. And it was clearly just an attack of character to sort of to steal his empire, that he was buying up Sony and he was buying up, the Beatles catalog. It's such a horrible thing that they did to him. And I mean, my MJ to me will always is now from here on out is exonerated because they've done these types of things to people before, right? Like they do this to people to discredit their name, to make them look like monsters, and of course to just steal all their resources, right? Or destroy them. Yeah, wait, but I understand the whole mixture thing. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying too. Like, I mean, well, let's look at Donald Harris, and Donald Harris looks black. Like, I'm saying Donald Harris looks black. Jay Harris. Now he's a college professor. He has denounced his daughter before, back in 2019 when she was running for president the first time and no one wanted to vote for her. He distanced himself from her because she said that her family was from Jamaica, and she was on the Breakfast Club and she was talking about. They were talking about how she was against weed and how she locked up 1,500 weed offenders. And she was like, oh, no, I'm not against weed because, Kamala doesn't stick to anything, right? She flip-flops always. She just is an empty vessel. She's just completely fed her lines, line by line. Otherwise, she's up there like a deer in headlights looking stupid. But she's not stupid. Like, she's not dumb. It's just that, like, she's hiding something. And that's weird. I don't, people always assume I'm black Indian when I see my two braids because I'm dark skinned with mixed hair. I've known some like Creole black folks who have like beautiful, not straight, but like, like a laid down look that's not completely straight, but, curly, but it's not kinky and stuff. What is this? No, I'm all set. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, so I've met like Creole black folks, people from New Orleans and stuff like that. NOLA. who have that mixed straightish hair. But anyways, Donald Harris looks black to me, right? He does. But again, Indians can kind of look black. And it is completely proven that Kamala Harris comes from slave owners. There's also evidence that her family comes from a family who was trying to genocide the Rastafarians. I can't remember the reason why, but they were just trying to get rid of these people, probably because they couldn't control them, because the Rastas were just smoking weed like, fuck you, man. We get high. Yes, we get high. Anyways, so I am not in the camp that Kamala Harris is not black, but there is compelling evidence that shows that maybe she's not. I don't know. But to me, in my eyes, Kamala and Donald J. Harris both look black. They do. They look it. It looks like it. They look Indian and black. So I don't know, until the evidence is right in front of our faces and we see it and we can touch it and feel it and insert it into our orifices. It's all assumptions and allegations. When informed that Harris is both black and Indian, Jack, so her father, we just read that shit. So presidential nominee Donald Trump told journalists in August that his Democratic opponent Harris turned black for political gain. I don't know. Is she black? Is she Indian? Shut up, bitch. Get out of here. Let's still find that. Which, again, Donald Trump, what an asshole. It's so funny. Raiders is like, why are you a Trump supporter now? I was like, I don't support Donald Trump. I don't want Donald Trump to win. But I want to see Kamala Harris lose. It's not about Donald Trump winning. It's about Kamala Harris losing. Can't change the brown skin overnight. No, you cannot. Let's just. Well, here's the thing again. Kamala Harris has ran as the first Indian Attorney General of California. The first Indian American to be Senator of California. So she's this first where she claims Indian, and then not when it's convenient, because of course this is what liberals do. Is they use black folks whenever they need to move a public opinion, right? Malcolm X said it. There's no one you can trust. There's somebody more devious than the white liberal. The white liberal, man. And I'm not nothing against whites. I love the whites. I'm half whites. It's just, this is what they do, right? This is what they do every single time. And we see it now too, right? We see it right now, how she's pandering to black men, how Barack Obama says, you are a misogynist, and I guess you're just not black enough if you don't vote for Kamala Harris. And then, because she's trying to win over black males right now, because tons of black males are like, I'm voting for Trump, bitch. She just dropped this, I think today. 10 hours ago. Legalize recreational. This is right from her fucking X page. Legalize recreational marijuana, breaking down unjust barriers that hold black men and other Americans back, and making sure black Americans have opportunities to succeed as the marketplace takes shape. Kamala Harris, thank God that you believe that all black men and women can become drug dealers. Everybody, give a round of applause for fucking Kamala Harris for reducing black men to drug dealers and feeding the stereotype. Wow. Now that's black right there. That's the blackest thing I've seen. Nobody does that, right? Nobody does that. I mean, she washes her greens in the bathtub. I'm surprised she doesn't have hot sauce in her purse. So, Kamala Harris, amazing person. We're looking up Donald Trump, Kamala, not black. Now, it's That's a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, it's rude.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear.
God damn, he's such a fucking cunt. I would say that is... it's not beyond Donald Trump, but I would say if we're talking about politics, that's such a stupid low blow to throw at somebody. Like, who cares? We honestly know that politicians are fucking liars. And if they want to claim black, if we're going to let Rachel Dolezal claim black, if that's what's going to happen, if society as a whole is going to allow that, then God damn it, so can Kamala Harris. What was I gonna look up? Shit, I forgot what I was gonna look up. Oh well, who cares? Let's get back to the article here. So, again, Janet Jackson is sort of feeding off of this thing. Oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna look up. Hold on. Kamala Harris, first Indian senator. First Indian American, Sacramento Bee. No thanks. Watch Kamala Harris. This is back in 2017, folks. Watch Kamala Harris sworn in as the first Indian American senator. Imagine that, friends. Imagine that. So back in 2017, and that's what I think people are sort of latching on to, is that she's just sort of this amorphous being that sort of takes shape into whatever mold that needs to be, presented. She will just read off the teleprompter word for word. If the teleprompter fucks up, then it's over for her. But she can read her ass off, and that's great. Great for her. Post misled about how Kamala Harris portrayed her. Okay, let's see what the AP News has to say. Post misled about how Kamala Harris portrayed her heritage. Claim Kamala Harris was sworn into Congress as an Indian American and now plays I'm a black woman card. AP's assessment: false. Kamala Harris for years has identified herself as both black and Indian American. In interviews, she has regularly talked about how her mother was from India and raised her as a black child. So, there you go. The Post claimed that in 2017, when she was sworn into U.S. Senate, she only identified as Indian American. That's not true. Harris, for years, 2016, Harris was elected Senate. Associated Press. Harris will enter the chamber as the first Indian woman elected to the Senate seat and the second black woman following Carol Moseley Braun. So, okay, so people reported on it. She identifies as both. And in that moment, she said, in that headline that we just saw with our eyes, she was Indian American. Mentioned in the headline, Indian American. Didn't say anything about black. We should go back to that article. It's the Sacramento Bee. Oh, and it's just a video. This ain't gonna let us do it. Political Senator Harris, the first presidential candidate of Indian origin, has inspired millions of Indians, many of whom lofted banners of congratulations in her ancestral city of Chennai, whatever, I don't know. After learning that she had been named the Democratic vice presidential nominee. Do you guys remember when she sort of like accused Joe Biden of being a rapist? She was just like, yeah, he probably did. The administration goes both ways. The senator's extended Indian family, particularly her mother, was an inspiration for Harris as she rose to the pinnacle of American politics. Her uncle Gopal Balacharan said in an interview that at his home in India's capital, New Delhi. That is the value. The value that is you treat everybody equally. Don't worry about where you're from. Where do you go? What do you eat? What dress do you wear? What languages do you speak? So, yeah. Anyways, there you go. Kamala. Kamala. La, 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 la. Anyways, she is, didn't mention anything about black in this article, strangely. But hey, whatever. There's Donald J. Harris. He looks black to me. He looks black. Okay. Past it. Done with that. What is this? Oh, yeah, black Indians. We don't want that. Anyways, going back to our article. She was only promoting her Indian heritage, Trump said in an interview with National Association of Black Journalists Convention. Of course, he said this at the Association of Black Journalists Convention. Is she Indian or black? Harris's father has been confirmed to be Jamaican immigrant. He came to the United States to pursue a PhD in economics. Her mother, who died in 2009, was an Indian immigrant. Elsewhere in an interview, The Guardian asked Janet if she thinks America is ready for Harris, to which she replied, honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really, truthfully don't know. I think either way it goes is going to be mayhem. And that right there is huge because I think a lot of us are kind of worried about what is going to happen in this election. Like, so, I mean, if Trump loses, is the MAGA crowd going to go nuts and burn shit down? If Kamala loses, is Antifa going to come and like burn down poor black people's neighborhoods? I don't know. So we'll see. But I do think that something crazy is going to happen. I hope not. I hope that everything just goes smoothly. We can have just a great a transfer of power, whether it be Kamala or Trump, whatever it is, smooth transitions. I don't want anybody getting hurt. I don't want no poor people's neighborhood getting burned down. She then reiterated her belief that regardless of who wins, she doesn't expect a peaceful transition of power in the aftermath of the election. I think there might be mayhem, Jackson said. Either way it goes, but we'll have to see. What does Janet Jackson know that we don't? What is it? So, I do want to play a little bit. I made a video, and we'll play a little bit of that video, and it kind of gets more direct. But this is what Candice Owens has been talking about. She's been doing this deep dive. And whatever you think about Candice Owens, she is very thorough when it comes to the research that she does. She's been very correct on some big key points. A big one to me was BLM being sort of a federally operated organization, and that was basically just laundering or just laundering money or just stealing money outright. I mean, there's a lot of scams going. I just saw another BLM leader fucking going to prison for fraud, right? So it was just a crazy operation, and it caused a lot of division. Now, I think that BLM was a beautiful thing when it first sort of arrived on the scene. And who knows if it was a federally operated organization from the beginning. But I think, what was it? Was it either Trayvon or Michael Brown who was shot, and BLM really started to get legs? And then, of course, back in the summer of 2020 when a lot of riots and protests were happening during COVID. Mighty, mighty! What are you doing? Mighty, mighty. Mighty, mighty. I don't know what happened to my thing. Excuse me. So, let's check out this video by Candice Owens. And I think this is correct. Let me see. Candice Owens deep dives into Kamala Harris's lineage. If nothing else, proves she lied in her book about this woman being her grandmother. This woman is in both photos is clearly not related to the vice president. Miss Harris is running game on black people, and this is from the Global Black News media.
It was Hamilton
town.
So
let's check this out.
Grandma Beryl died in 1960, 4 years before Kamala Harris was born. So who the hell is the real Beryl? Who is that woman standing next to Kamala Harris? And do you know what I noticed about that woman standing next to her? She looks a lot like the woman that Kamala claims in her book is her great-grandmother, Iris. Now, that's Iris Finnegan. Here's the book with my great-grandmother, Iris Finnegan in Jamaica. Now, I'm going to give you the side-by-side of Iris and her alleged daughter, Beryl, who died at 39. Now, that woman on the right is not 39 years old. She's clearly much more advanced in her age. I mean, we know black don't crack. I mean, that's just a scientific fact. So I would put that woman on the right-hand side, who she tried to pass off as Beryl, and I think is the exact same person. I would say that woman looks to be about 65. And then it looks like she's more advanced on the left-hand side. The great-grandmother, that's the same person. When I just believe my own eyes, we're looking at the same person. What do you guys think when you look at those photos? How the hell does a person who is the vice president of the United States pass off a book, claim that these people that are in her book are her black relatives, and nobody bats an eyelash or does even a peripheral search to recognize that the woman that she put forth is implausibly her grandmother? And by the way, I'm going to say this and people can be offended, but the first thing that I thought when I saw the photo of her sitting on her great-grandmother's lap was that this doesn't look like a grandparent affection going on here. Like, this woman looks like she could be working for the family. Quite literally, I thought to myself, this woman looks like she could be the help. And I thought that because there's a lack of affection there.
And she does actually go on to prove that prove to the best of the ability because of the records that are available. Now, again, we're not going to go through all of her evidence that she's presenting because it's like 3 weeks of evidence. She does a really good job of showing that evidence, though. So I'm, it's believable. But again, I got to see the conclusion for me to make a real decision here, because again, a lot of stuff there's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation. There's a lot of crazy stuff on the internet, and a lot of things can get twisted up. So I want to see where this goes. All right.
Do you know what I mean? But there's no, like, and both.
Oh, and by the way, Candice presents the birth certificates and death certificates and all this stuff. So there's more than just this 2-minute clip that we're seeing. But this just gives you an idea of what she's doing.
Photos. There's a lack of affection. It's just like a woman standing next to her.
And the reason why I paused in the first place is that just looking at two people side by side and being like, those look like the same people, is not evidence, right? That is not evidence. So we should just stop right there. And she's saying, believe your own eyes, which, yeah, they look similar. But do we know that those two people are the same? We don't. Not for a fact. And there's so much information. I can't remember it. I know that she did find information indicating that this woman is the help. But that is not her grandma.
Her, and I obviously know that was a circumstance. When you're talking about a family that had a ton of plantations, which is the reality. She descends from Irish slavers. That is a fact that Kamala Harris cannot deny. She descends from wealthy Irish slavers who virtually did own the town. They named the town. It was Hamilton Town, then it was Brownstown in Jamaica. He had over 1,000.
No, that's the end of the clip. Eddie Griffin gets in on it too, which is pretty fucking funny. Eddie Griffin's up in this bitch. Lied about her uncles and aunties in her book. So she lied. Here's the thing. Candice Owens is finding that she's lying a lot about who her family is. So it's really, really interesting.
Every time she opened her mouth, there's a motherfucker.
Listen to Eddie.
Well. Kalaya Harris. Can she lie? Yeah, she can lie. Every time she opened her mouth, there's a motherfucker. Roll it.
I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
Speaks for itself.
That was stupid,
Trump
Eddie
people,
Griffin.
contact my people. Come on the show. Let's get it done, man. Kamala, don't come. I don't want to talk to your lying ass.
Eddie Griffin.
And ABC is in trouble also. They only fact-check Donald Trump. They didn't fact-check that bitch at all. But now you try to set Donald to make him look bad. Think! It ain't a thinking for you like you can't check in school. Can't check my homework, bitch. This ain't homework.
What the fuck?
Fact-check.
All right, wrong video. Never mind. Let's check out this one.
Freddie, right? Like that. There are pictures of her in Harlem. Look at this photo. She just posts up right here, visiting my Uncle Freddie in Harlem. Harlem was always a magical place for me. Now, what's interesting about this picture is the man behind, I don't know if that's actually her Uncle Freddie, right? Like that came to my mind. I'm like, is this just like a guy working on the side of the street and she's just like including him because this picture shows a black man that's in Harlem and again signals to black people that like she's with her uncle up in Harlem. Kind of feels that way. But then I realized that she featured some more pictures of her black aunties and her black uncles, and we see Uncle Fred again. Take a look at this photo. This is going to drive you guys crazy because I still can't believe it when I read it. So you see three obviously black people in this photo. You would not question the authenticity of their blackness. And the caption reads, "I'm blessed with an amazing family. I'll never be able to thank Auntie Chris, Uncle Freddie, and Aunt Mary enough for their constant encouragement and support. They always showed up for me, as they did here at a campaign event for my DA's race that we held at a San Francisco, you guessed it, jazz club, because, hey, we're talking Harlem, we're talking black people, we're talking afros. Let's also post a picture of you in a jazz club with your aunties and your uncles. And like black people will just accept that you only have all these photos because you're like super black." But then I said, wait a second. She doesn't have an Aunt Mary or an Aunt Chris or an Uncle Fred. I've been deep in this woman's genealogy. Who are we talking about here? These people do not exist. And I said, is it possible that like somewhere in the book that she's alleging, probably assuming that no one is going to actually read through?
Okay, and just to sort of get to the end here, she discovers that in certain ethnic families, they call close friends of the family, or maybe even a cousin, an older cousin, they call them aunties, right? And it's prevalent in the Asians, in a lot of ethnic families, right? I mean, even in the whites, right? Like it's Uncle Dave, right? Like your dad's best friend Dave, he's not your real uncle, but it's Uncle Dave, you know. So it's just something that we do. So you can always you could just grow up calling people your auntie, and they might not even be blood related. Like I grew up calling a cousin a tia, right? Like, and that means aunt in Spanish. So it's something that happens in the ethnic communities, you know, and even in the white community that this happens. So that's not a great video either. But I just wanted to give you an idea of where she's coming from. Now, the video I'm about to play is something that I did a couple weeks ago, and this one makes sense. This will probably tie it together a little better. So let's check out this video that's up on my Instagram.
Under fire for claiming Kamala is not black. While on tour in Europe, Janet Jackson sat down with The Guardian where she made claims that presidential nominee Kamala Harris isn't black. Quote, "Well, you know what they supposedly said. She asks me, she's not black, that's what I heard, that she's Indian. For the mistake of asking questions."
So now they're showing the headlines. It's like Janet Jackson repeats false claims about Harris's race. She's not black. Janet Jackson makes shocking comments about Kamala Harris's heritage.
Janet has been touted in the mainstream media and on social media as echoing Republican disinformation. According to Kamala, this is her paternal grandmother Beryl. This is Beryl's death certificate.
So this is her death certificate. This is Kingston, Jamaica, which you can see right up there. It says Kingston, Jamaica, St. Joseph's Hospital in Kingston. Now that's in their little town that they're from. And there it says Beryl right there. And this is her death certificate of the woman that's in the picture with Kamala Harris.
Notice the date as July of 1960. Kamala was born October 20th, 1964. Do you see the problem? If Beryl passed in 1960 and Kamala was born in 1964, then who is this? Why would someone feel the need to lie about who their grandmother is? Mo Ilmazri, person claiming to be her manager released a statement apologizing on behalf of Janet Jackson. Shortly after the statement was released, representatives of Janet Jackson disassociated and fired El Masri. El Masri released a statement saying, Janet Jackson fired.
So Janet Jackson's own team member put out saying that Janet Jackson apologized for the statement. Janet Jackson went so far as to not. She's like, nah, that bitch is fired. Fuck him. And he, and also, we stand by what we said. Fuck that guy.
Fired me due to disagreements between me, her, and Randy after her meeting with The Guardian and her unbalanced statements. All support to Kamala Harris. Isn't it interesting they frame her as delusional and unbalanced when she was just asking questions? Questions that some may not want to answer. Janet.
So, because the media went after Janet Jackson, Candice Owens has made it her mission to go and fucking stir some shit up. Obviously, Kamala Harris isn't doing great. Her polling is down. Her last-ditch efforts to actually do interviews hasn't been well. There's been claims that 60 Minutes edited. I believe that was another thing that happened on another network where they edited her answers because Kamala has a hard time in front of cameras when she's working off the cuff. Now, I think she did a fantastic job at the debate. She goaded the Trump into showing how small-minded he can be and how his ego plays such a big role in his decisions. When she started making fun of his crowd sizes, he's like, my crowds are the biggest. They're the biggest crowds. We all know how he speaks. But yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting to see how much backlash that came off of this. Now, you're not finding any articles that are sort of following this up, right? Like nobody's out there following this up. No mainstream publication is out there going, is this true? Is Candice saying it? But apparently the Washington Post is digging around, so there is things happening in that regard. So it does seem a little like maybe the story will come out, but who knows? Here's the thing. The majority of the mainstream media tends to sway to the left, and they're all running game for Kamala right now. They're all just making sure that she looks the best, because you got a bunch of people in there who are probably a bunch of SJWs working behind the scenes. Also, the CIA definitely has a say on what goes on TV. Operation Mockingbird has been in full effect. It hasn't stopped. That it's only evolved. So if you think that the deep state doesn't have anything to do with what the media has to say, then I don't know what planet you're fucking living in, because it's pretty obvious that they're all running defense for this woman that no one cared about 10 minutes ago. Like, no one liked her. Like, everybody thought she was horrible. No one wanted to vote for president. She was the worst VP ever. She was the worst border czar, which they started saying she wasn't a border czar, but there are definitely articles that say border czar Kamala Harris. Like, these things exist. You can't just erase the entirety of this woman's past, because guess what? People have receipts. People take screenshots. People have documents just sitting in a box somewhere. You know, like you can't keep it quiet forever, especially with the internet. Although I know Hillary Clinton wants to repeal Section 230 that protects protects websites against being held liable for what their users post on their site. She wants to remove that. She wants it to, because she wants more control. We should actually look at that thing too.